Hey everyone, this is Jordan Loeffler with Middle of Nowhere Gaming, and we're here to talk about one of the biggest pieces of news to come out of PlayStation Experience 2016. We knew it was coming, we hoped it was, and now here it is. The Last of Us Part 2 has been confirmed and revealed. I'm going to be completely blunt here. If you have not played The Last of Us and you're afraid of spoilers, I don't know how you've made it this long, but you should have known better when you clicked on this video. The trailer technically spoils what happens at the end of the original game, but we're going to get a little more into it. You've been warned. Okay, let's get into what this trailer may be telling us about the new game, shall we? So we start off in the wilderness somewhere. It's not entirely clear where, but there are a few signs throughout the trailer that suggest this place hasn't really been occupied, at least up until recently. There's moss growing on the top of an abandoned car, there's a fence that's clearly in need of some repairs, ivy growing wild on the side of houses, broken windows, the list goes on as the trailer progresses. Now, going back just a bit, we see some damage to a tree. The trailer starts all serene and quiet. Like I said, it seems like this place hasn't really been touched for a while, but there's this fresh tear in the tree that looks a lot like a claw mark. My guess is that it could be a mark left by an infected or a clicker if we're going to remain in line with the typical creatures that inhabit The Last of Us' universe. But we are in a forest, so it could also be a bear or some large cat. Who knows? My guess is Naughty Dog is trying to allude to the infected with this marking since they're completely absent from the trailer otherwise. The moss that's growing on the tree also seems to resemble some of the formations that you might find growing off of an infected, so it seems like a safe bet. This is simply confirmation that the infected are still around and will remain an enemy to be wary of. Next up, we have the Firefly symbol, and the first confirmation that yes, we are solidly in the setting from the previous game. It's very likely that we are still in the United States, seeing as the Fireflies were a movement working against the US government in the first game. Is it possible that they've since branched overseas and this takes place somewhere else? Sure, but it seems unlikely. In this beginning sequence, we also get a clearer view of the area. At one point, this was probably a community, though the trailer doesn't confirm exactly who is occupying it besides the Firefly graffiti. Why the Fireflies felt the need to mark this area is also unclear. If it was a stronghold of theirs, they probably would have wanted to keep it a little more secretive. My guess is that for whatever reason, they wanted folks to know that they had been here, not that they are taking advantage of the vacancy. After the developer logo flashes, thank you Naughty Dog, we love you, we get a very shaky hand. Now, I have to admit that the first time I saw the trailer, I thought this might be Joel's hand. It looks rough, and the guitar was something I always identified as a characteristic of Joel's. As we get a little further along, we can revisit this thought because I don't think it's an accident that the identity of this character was obscured at first. Whoever this person is, they seem to have a good understanding of how to play a guitar, taking the time to strum it and tune it. This seems to be a trained guitar player. Okay, and let's just take a moment to marvel at the way those strings vibrate. I mean, come on, that is beautiful. The guitar looks unreal, and the way everything moves is just spot on. I don't tend to get worked up about how pretty my games are, but Naughty Dog certainly knows its business, and the precision in this trailer does not shake my belief in them. And then we finally get a glimpse and a voice to match this figure. Of course, it's Ellie, and she's looking a little roughed up, apparently recently in a scuffle. And those hand tremors, they could be adrenaline or maybe from the cordyceps virus still inside of her. Maybe although she can survive the virus's immediate effects, it will shorten her lifespan and the tremors are just the start. The other thing most apparent is that she's older, but not much older since the events of the first game. She also decided to get a rather detailed tattoo on her right arm. Going back just a little, we get a clearer view of the artwork on her arm, and it appears to be a sleeve of ferns with a butterfly at the top. When we look towards the bottom, it looks like the tattoo might not have been finished, as it seems to be less filled and detailed than the rest. Those who paid attention in the first game will recall that this is the same arm that was once bitten by an infected. If you look closely enough, you can still see some of the scar tissue from that wound. This tattoo brings up some interesting questions about how Ellie feels about the first game's conclusion. Literally speaking, a tattoo would be a good way of obscuring that a wound was once on that arm. So anyone, fireflies, looking for a woman of a certain age and appearance would probably miss the defining feature of the planet's cure. So maybe she's aware that she should probably remain in hiding if she does value her life. The tattoo of ferns acts as a symbol with double effect. This tattoo is probably some method of hiding Ellie's identity, but it also accentuates it. Ellie's a very introspective person, so it's probably not lost on her that the fern as a symbol of obscurity also represents one of life. The butterfly adds that Ellie feels she's grown into something else. Maybe the events of the first game were her chrysalis. Maybe she's quite aware of what Joel had to do to save her in the first game, and this is her way of passively showing him that she knows. Looking past the subject matter of the song Ellie's singing for the moment, let's take a short look into the room she's sitting in. It seems like a room that would belong to a teenager, a stereo on the dresser and rock concert posters lining the walls being the most prevalent characteristics. Unless she brought it with her, Ellie probably also found this guitar in the room. She's also sitting on the bed, indicating that there might be some level of familiarity with the room, so it's possible that this is Ellie's bedroom, which would have some strong indications about how the next game is going to start, especially with what comes next in the trailer. When we left Joel and Ellie in the first game, they were just about to go back to Joel's brother's settlement in Jackson, seemingly to live out their days playing guitar until the sun went down. If this is Ellie's room in Jackson, and the settlement is in this much disrepair, things probably went south here some time ago. This is where the trailer really starts getting somewhere, and the scenes pictured gets better painted. It seems that Ellie's been busy since she came to town. That figure walking through the doorway doesn't seem too fazed by the violence all around either. A little later, we get confirmation that this is indeed Joel, so no need to beat around the bush on that one. Said I walk beside the still waters and it's also worth noting that the people who are holed up in this place appear unarmed. The only weapons we see in the trailer are Joel's gun and a machete laying at Ellie's feet next to a body. Again, harkening back to the first game, Ellie has some history with machetes, specifically when she turned it on David, and if memory serves, she went a little manic with the thing too, not that David did not deserve that. Placing that weapon at her feet brings back some strong emotions both for players and for Ellie. If she was wielding it, she was probably pretty upset with these people, upset enough to have possibly murdered them defenseless.
What are you doing, kiddo? You really gonna go through with this?
Finally, we hear Joel speak, and the way he asks his questions sounds like he has his reservations about what's just happened and what's going to happen. Joel is probably still trying to hide something from Ellie, and whatever mission she's on could jeopardize their relationship by finding the truth about the end of the previous game. Then we get Ellie's line.
I'm gonna find, and I'm gonna kill every last one of them.
The biggest questions we have at the end are who and why. It seems clear that Ellie killed the people in this house, so they're probably part of whatever group Ellie wants to wipe out. Is this some random group of hunters? Is it indeed the Fireflies? It's still a little early to definitively tell. This is where we're going to get real far down the speculation rabbit hole, so if you've stuck with me this far, here it goes. Like I said, with the state of the community in this trailer, it doesn't seem like Tommy's populated town in Jackson is doing very well. If we are to believe it is Jackson, then Joel and Ellie have probably been away for a while and they just got back to find some bad people who aren't Tommy. Now, with the way that I've always interpreted the ending for the first game, Ellie doesn't believe Joel is telling her the truth, but she accepts the lie. Regardless, she doesn't know exactly what happened at the Fireflies lab, which means that she probably doesn't know that Marlene is dead, let alone that Joel killed her. I like to believe that Ellie had some level of loyalty to Marlene because of how close Ellie and Riley were, and that Ellie would probably object to Joel executing her. So let's say Ellie finds out Marlene was killed and she wants to know who done it, either suspecting it was Joel or someone within the Fireflies, and let's say Tommy's settlement in Jackson was also wiped out, seemingly by Fireflies, whose symbol was left cleverly graffitied on a stop sign, so to say that the Fireflies need to be stopped. She would have nothing left but to take vengeance. And in pursuing the Fireflies, she would be seeking the truths that Joel has been hiding from her. This would explain why Joel is reluctant to accept Ellie's resolve. Still, he's bound to protect her at all costs, so he would certainly accompany her, creating a game that feels so close to the first, but that is about something very different. What we have already gotten confirmed comes straight from writer and director Neil Druckmann, who said that Ellie is 19 years old in this game, that she is quote-unquote the star of the game, and that the game's themes will focus more on hate, where he believes the first game was about love. The first game focuses on how Joel and Ellie's relationship grows stronger over the course of their journey. If this game is about hate, and these two characters are as inseparable as they seem, I don't think we're looking at a happy resolution to the relationship. But let's not forget that the game is probably very much in its infancy. We didn't get a release date, and Naughty Dog is still on the heels of Uncharted 4. They just announced a new piece of DLC for that game, so the whole team hasn't entirely moved over to The Last of Us Part 2. For all we know, this is as much as they've actually created, and whatever story they come up with will just fit right into the trailer. Although much of this video is intended to be an analysis of the game's possible storylines, as far as what Neil Druckmann's comments have informed us about gameplay, I think we can say that we will be playing as Ellie for almost the entirety of the game. My hope is that it's some sort of inversion of the first game, where Ellie will be the main character and we will get to jump into Joel's shoes on occasion, just because that seems like a nice thought. If we are looking at a sort of antithesis to the first game, then some more of the elements mentioned earlier start to become more relevant. In the first game, Joel meets Ellie as someone who has become hardened after the loss of his daughter. It seems that now Ellie has also become hardened after the time that has elapsed between games, which might explain her hand tremors before she starts playing guitar.
What are you doing,
She's
kiddo?
bothered by who she's become. The song Through the Valley, originally by Sean James, confirms
Maybe
that
we
Ellie
can go
feels
through
there's
this.
something wrong about herself. Remember when I said that I thought Joel might be the person playing guitar? Well, in a lot of ways he is. There's no doubt that Joel has had an influence on who Ellie has become, but
I'm gonna
where Joel
find.
has found peace, Ellie has been left to wrestle with the
And
demons
I'm
so
gonna
clearly
kill
left within her at the end of the first game.
every last one of them.
I think it's safe to say that Naughty Dog has given us plenty to think about in the years leading up to this game's eventual release. Why don't you let us know how you feel about the trailer? Was there something we missed? Are you excited for a sequel to The Last of Us? Stay tuned to Middle of Nowhere Gaming for more news on The Last of Us Part 2 as it becomes available.